Hello and welcome to episode 186 of Controller Club, the friendly face gaming space, a podcast where three friends from three continents share in one love, and that is video games. On today's show, we will head back to the wasteland for a review of Amazon Prime Video's Fallout Season 2, the first 4 episodes of that series. But before all that, my name is Kleinfeld, and alongside me today are two of my best friends in the whole wide gaming world. First, coming to us from across the pond, it is the digital art daredevil himself, our resident Deathclaw expert, Tom Drew. Tom, how are you doing? Welcome to the wasteland.
I'm doing good. Yeah, welcome to the wasteland indeed. I'm feeling a little sleepy though. Just peek behind the curtain. It's pretty late where I am, so I'm hoping you guys will bring some good energy. Maybe keep me awake, so I don't get like mauled by some ghouls potentially on this journey we're gonna go on this episode. But yeah, doing good. But hopefully I'll be a bit more lively as the podcast goes on.
Next up, it is the journalist extraordinaire, the Australian abroad / the Canadian in training, Brotherhood of Steel sympathizer, Lauren Rouse. Lauren, what's going on? How's life? How are things? You are tired for a very different reason. You are on the opposite end of the clock.
Yes, that's right. I'm tired because it's early here, so we're really picking a great time to record this, but we have to do what we have to do. So yeah, I just need some of Lucy's energy from episode 4, and then we're good to go. Maybe I need some of what she's having.
Lauren's gonna get a drug addiction here on the show today. You heard it here, folks. Let's get into it. Our Fallout Season 2, Episode 1 through 4 review. We'll be doing these over the next couple of weeks, doing 1 through 4 now, taking a break next week, doing 5, 6, taking another break, then doing 7, 8. We are splitting them up. We are not doing week by week. And Lauren, you will be taking charge. You'll be taking the reins of the podcast for all of these Fallout reviews. So take it away. Let's open up the vault door and head on out there.
Okay, let's do it. So welcome, Vault Dwellers, to our Fallout Season 2 review. It's been over 18 months since we did our Season 1 review of Fallout, which we did in its entirety because the show came out in its entirety. So it's a little bit different this time around because we're doing week by week. Although, because the show began on, Season 2 began airing on December 16 last year. So we've had a few weeks over the break to watch a few episodes, and now we'll do 1 through 4. So in case you didn't know, we did do a Fallout Primer episode as well, which was a bit of a recap of what happened in Season 1 and our expectations for Season 2. So you can go back a few weeks ago and listen to that if you missed it. But basically, Fallout is an adaptation of Bethesda's long-running action RPG video game series. And as we kind of teed up in our primer, the action this season is going from California to Nevada to the iconic location of New Vegas. So that's very exciting, and we're all very excited about that. So we had episode 1 on December 16 and then 1 every week since then. I don't know about you guys, but because it started airing over that kind of Christmas period, I feel like it feels like it's happened in another life, these episodes, the ones that were a few weeks ago, because just feels like the Christmas season is so crazy that I've like forgotten a lot of what happened. But so this will be a fun review. But let's just start with our very like top level spoiler-free thoughts to this basically first half of the season of Fallout. What have you guys been thinking of it so far? Tom, what do you think?
Yeah, I came into this, quite excited because, for some context, if you didn't listen to the primer or anything, Season 1, I enjoyed it, but it took a bit for me to get going with it and get into the rhythm of it. And so I was excited because I was like, okay, I've gone over that hurdle. Now I can enjoy Season 2. But it's weird because I'm almost experiencing a similar thing again with Season 2, where it's like, I think the show is good. It's just taken me a little bit to kind of get back into the rhythm of it. And there are some elements of it that I just don't know if I'm driving with completely. There are definitely storylines that this time around I'm finding that I'm definitely preferring some compared to others. And it'll be interesting to see how we just feel about all of these as we talk through these episodes. But yeah, there are definitely some highlights, but I'm kind of it's only taken up until this week, so it's kind of probably a good thing that we're talking about it now for me to kind of really be okay, I am enjoying this and I'm excited to see where this is going, because I do feel like this season has felt a little bit meandering, I suppose, in terms of the direction it's going in. But yeah, so I'm a little mixed at the moment, more positive than negative for sure. But yeah, that's kind of where I'm at.
Do you feel the same, Klein?
I feel maybe not as intensely as Tom. I am really enjoying Fallout Season 2. I think it's a great season of television so far, but it is, as you said, Tom, it's, I think, a kind of good thing that we are doing these first 4 episodes, because I have felt kind of 1 through 4 so far to be a lot of table setting. Like, we kind of are getting the players out on the board, we're setting the path forward. And then it really was the end of episode 3 where an event takes place that I was like, okay, now we can start to get into like what the season is ultimately going to be about. And I feel like I maybe felt the same way about Fallout Season 1, but the benefit that that show had, benefit or negative, depending on the way you look at it, was it was all there for me to enjoy all at once. So when I watched the first 4 episodes and was like, okay, maybe this is a bit slow, I got to the 5th episode and things really started rolling along. And the same thing, I would say even the same thing with this creative team's last series, Westworld. Like, that first season of that show is quite good, and they have a great conceit to start with, and then it kind of slowed down a little bit, but the back half of that first season is really, really, really good, and each episode kind of had its own explosive twist and turn. And I think that that's what we're going to get here with Fallout Season 2 ultimately. But right now, having only seen the first 4 episodes, I am kind of sitting here going, okay, I've had enough of the laying out the picnic blanket. I'm ready to eat. Like, I am ready to get into whatever this big conflict that they're teasing, whatever this big kind of next story movement is going to be.
Yeah, I don't know if I feel like it's been slow. I think because the speed of everything around me watching the episodes, like just life has been busy. So it's like watching the show sort of feels like, okay, bite, let's go. I just feel like it didn't skip a beat at all. I felt like we got back in and I was like, this is exactly the show that I remember. It's doing all the same things, which is kind of the most you can ask for, right? That it's just the same quality as the previous season, which I feel it is so far, and has the potential to be even better as we, particularly I think, get past these first 4, because it has, as you say, it's taken a minute to actually get to New Vegas, which is what we're all very excited about, and I think that has been a bit of a bit frustrating, because you're like, I just want to get there and see it, but it's like you have to do the work, you have to understand some of the who we're going to see, and because then that makes the payoff so much more exciting when you actually get there and like, okay, now we have actually things to do here. But let's get into some of the specifics. I'm not going to do like full in-depth recaps of each episode, but we can just talk about the main arcs in each one and sort of what we liked about them. So there's a few things going on in episode 1. I would say this is probably maybe the most groundwork setting episode. It is the first one of the season, but we establish, first and foremost, we get to meet Robert House, who is played by Justin Theroux, but also played by, I think, Rafi Silva was his name, from the previous season. So that's interesting. Straight away, you see on the TV that it's the same guy from the previous season, but then we all know that Justin Theroux is playing Mr. House. So that's a little bit confusing why that's going on. I don't know. We can talk about some theories about that if you want. But he is at a diner, and he gets the attention of some of the locals who come out and fight him in the car park, and he puts a strange chip in the back of one of their necks and starts to basically mind control him. So this is like one of the big major arcs of the season, is trying to recreate this mind control technology. But what did you guys think of this whole scene and House's introduction?
I like that this whole intro of a new kind of human threat that, or not human threat, a threat from before the bombs dropping is very interesting and fun. And the way they introduce him, it is immediately like, oh, this guy's terrifying. This guy's a force to be reckoned with. And knowing kind of his involvement in the franchise moving forward as we get into like the canon of the games and things like that, I think it is fun that we are bringing in a very, very like video game character into this, somebody that is familiar, but we're adding some new twists to him. We're filling out some layers. We're filling in blanks and where we had questions before coming off of Fallout New Vegas, the game. I think that's a lot of fun. And I don't know. I love a smarmy businessman villain, and he's given that to us for sure.
Yeah, he's really like just chewing up the scenery in every scene he's in. This like opening, this is one of like my big highlights from I think the season so far. Honestly, I think every scene with Robert House is like a real delight. Justin Theroux is just like so good in the role, so like captivating. He really is just like, he just steals the show anytime he's on screen. And yeah, it really does set up this like really interesting like idea of like this mind control thing. Maybe like his whole plan to get the mind control thing onto the thugs outside the pub were a little convoluted, but it was fun. It was just like goofy fun, and I think I'm just excited to see more of him and like his interactions with Cooper as we go on, because we get a bit more of that as the episodes go on, but there's definitely more given like from what the trailers kind of teased.
Yeah, so they are continuing with this, I guess, structure of having some events in the past pre the bombs, which we see mostly through Cooper Howard, who was the ghoul later on. And he is also in some scenes in this episode. We sort of learn that he's going to try and not necessarily, he's kind of acting as a spy with Moldaver, and but really they want him to get to House, so we know that that's setting them up for a bit of a collision course, so that's quite interesting. But back in the present, we have Lucy and the ghoul on a bit of a unlikely road trip, as they go to New Vegas to find Lucy's dad, Hank, who ran off there at the end of last season in the power armor. And I mean, Lucy and Ghoul didn't get along at the best of times. So this has just been interesting to see them. We see them in, I think what's the name of the town? It's a town from the game.
Novak.
Novak, thank you, with the dinosaur. And they've come across the Khans who have held Ghoul captive. But this is all part of a plan. But Lucy, who is averse to like violence and killing people, kind of just wants to ask them if they'll play nice first, while the ghoul is strung up by his neck, kind of being like, shoot them, shoot me free, this is part of the plan. Which erupts into this big gunfight when she eventually does do it, because they don't want to play nice. She's still kind of learning this thing that the wasteland doesn't really go along with the Volts or Voltec's way of thinking, of positivity. So what do you guys think of Lucy and Ghoul's dynamic and this sort of opening scene for them?
Yeah, I think it's a lot of fun. Like, I think it's interesting because, yeah, like season one really kind of hardened Lucy in a lot of ways, especially like that in that finale when she has to, kill her mother. But we do see those kind of instincts from her are still there. So it's interesting to see how like a lot of that does get broken down as a lot of these episodes of like come to pass, like as you guys alluded to at the beginning with like the drugs later on in episode 4, compared to this scene where she doesn't want to like hurt anyone, and then you just get like a really kick-ass scene with the ghoul like taking down people. It's cool, and I think like their dynamic is one of the things that I'm like, I almost wish there was like more of it. There are some episodes later on, I don't want to keep, it feels like I'm just jumping around, but like where they get kind of isolated from one another. So it's kind of them on their own, which is fine. And I think you do need those kind of character developing moments where it's just them on their own. But I think their dynamic is just so good that I almost want to see them together all the time. But no, I think that is definitely one of the highlights for me from the season so far.
I agree with Tom that I think that this pair is the best when they're paired up, they're together on the wasteland. And I do really like Ella Purnell's character, and when she's on her own at the beginning of season 1, it's a lot of fun, and Walton Goggins is a badass in just about anything he does, but they're just such good foils to one another, like her being this still very uppity, glass half full, see the best in the world, the humanity is still out there, and Ghoul literally just looking at his face being this seasoned, nuclear irradiated cowboy who's seen it all and knows that no, this is a place with no rules and no laws. And I think that that's just, it's fun to explore, and it's fun to see Lucy kind of like slowly start breaking down those barriers, even though she still does very much have those walls built up. There are little moments where it's like, okay, like you tried to do this thing, you tried to be the better person, and it ultimately came back to bite you in the butt. And that is just, that's the Fallout games personified. I think something the Fallout games do really well is you make what you think is the good choice, but in this world, like good and bad are such a weird concept that 5 hours later, the good choice you made seemingly comes back and, oh no, now you've dropped a nuclear bomb on this small town or whatever. And I think that that is just, are many reasons that this series emulates the games well, but like this dynamic kind of brings those out quite well, and it's one of them.
Yeah, I think the other thing that happens to them in this episode is they go into Vault 24, another abandoned vault, and they find more evidence of this mind control chip. There's a bit of a exploding head situation, which we've seen. Actually, we should have mentioned in the opening scene. Also, the issue with this mind control chip is that if you dial it up too far, heads explode. So there's been many exploding heads this season so far. And that kind of leads into also where we find Hank, who has run off to some Vault-Tec's facility in New Vegas, and he's living his best life. He's like, I can finally be the corporate guy that I used to be. He's put the suit back on. He's driving around in a golf buggy in this abandoned building, and he's ready to get back to work. So just some like light theories on like who do we think Hank is working for at this point? Because he does say it's like, I'm ready to get back to work, sir. And we're like, well, who's out there listening? Is it someone who's alive, or is it someone who he plans to reawaken? It's a little bit, it could be anything.
I'd like to see a Mr. House, but that like there's so many people that I thought I had figured out in this universe that coming off these first 4 episodes, I'm like, I don't really know who you are anymore. Like, I don't know who you stand with. Do you have some secret motivation? Are you some undercover agent for some other thing? And so, especially with Hank coming off season 1, it was like, oh, like this guy's a Vault-Tec guy through and through. But what does that mean? Is he a Vault-Tec guy, or is he working for some other corporate backer that is connected to Vault-Tec? I think we see it later in one of the other episodes that like there are plenty of companies in this world coming to Vault-Tec before the post-apocalypse and asking, hey, can we conduct our scientific endeavors within your steel-lined walls? And them going, okay, to the highest bidder. And so I think that, yes, it could be Vault-Tec, but I don't know. Is it Roboco, which is the Mr. House's company? Is it someone else that we don't even know yet? I'm really unsure. And him, for me, is like one of the biggest quandaries heading into the last half of this season. I'm just like, what are you doing? And I want more of him, because especially later in these first 4 episodes, we kind of get less and less of him, and I want to explore his side of the story even deeper.
Yeah, my kind of thought was House as well, like initially. I do wonder if he's like similar to how Bud is, where he's just like a basically a brain and like a little Roomba, basically. And he's kind of survived all this time through that. Like, I think it's interesting to have these characters like the Ghoul who are able to traverse these different time periods that they're showing. And I think House could be another cool way to kind of keep that through line going. Because yeah, otherwise I'm not really sure who else it could be. Maybe it's some like other like character tied to Fallout lore. I'm not like read up on that, so I wouldn't really know. But I think House for me is the kind of prevailing theory for me, at least.
Yeah, it makes sense for it to be House, particularly with how they set up the episode with him also using this mind control chip. But I'm also like, that's so obvious. Maybe they're both working for someone else. Like, I don't know. That's one of the good things about Fallout. I'm sure they're going to pull the rug out from under us somehow, but I'm just not quite sure how yet. The last storylines that we kind of set up in this episode are with the Vault. So even though we've got Norm, who's in Vault 31. He's in Vault 31. And as we saw last season, inside Vault 31 is a bunch of cryogenically frozen Vault-Tec workers who are meant to be released every few years, every time there needs to be a new overseer. And that's where Bud Atkins, I think his name is Bud's brain is in a Roomba, and he's driving around being useless. Anyway, so Norm has been stuck in there, gone through all the food supplies, and at that point is like, well, I need to do something. So he just chooses chaos and decides to release everybody all at once, wakes up all the Vault-Tec people. So we could probably talk about this arc in general over the few episodes. So he wakes them up and then has to manage them basically as they're all these kind of junior executives and assistants who they've decided were going to run the world after it ended. And they have to try and work their way out of the vault. What did you guys think of this whole storyline with Norm in these first 4 episodes so far?
I actually think this might be my favorite arc that we've seen so far, personally. And maybe it's Hannah Montana bias because of Moisaris. I just really like him. But I don't know. Like, I think this idea of awakening all these Vault-Tec employees, and then they're just thrust in. It's similar to with Lucy, right? Like, she's been in the vault for ages, and now you're bringing all these other like people who aren't aware of the wasteland at all and seeing their reaction to it. I think that's really fascinating. And then also seeing, some of them have ulterior motives, like, hey, I have some information about like Vault-Tec that I'm privy to. Maybe I should be the leader. And it's just interesting to see how that interplay is coming together. And I want to see like this kind of like squabbling between these Vault-Tec employees. Meanwhile, like, again, I mentioned Bud. Like, Bud is like flipped over in like a bucket or whatever, and they've just left him in the vault. So it's I don't know. I think it's like really fun. Like, this is like definitely my top storyline so far.
I wasn't with you, Tom, until I would say episode 4 of this particular arc, because I think it's every time we'd go back to this, especially coming into season 2, having it been so long since I watched season 1, I was kind of like disoriented. Like, what's going on? Who are these people? And you slowly figure it out and piece it together. But I was kind of like, I'm having so much fun, particularly with Lucy and Ghoul and with the Brotherhood of Steel stuff. That's like, this to me feels like the weakest part. And then we get out of the vault, and it's like, oh, we're not just heading back to these other interconnected vaults that we know 31's connected to. We are going up to the surface. And then you have, I think his name's Ronnie, coming to, I'll call him Rico from Hannah Montana, but coming to Norm and basically being like, hey, guess what? In the before times, I was so-and-so's assistant, but I was Bud Askin's assistant, who's like the vice president of Vault-Tec. I think that his official title is like senior junior vice president or junior senior vice president is Bud Askins. And he's like, hey, phase 2, what's going on? Like, it's time to start that. And then it's like, what does that mean? He brings up a what's he call it, future endeavors ventures, which isn't a thing in the Fallout games, but a lot of fans seem to think there is in Fallout this thing called FEV, which is the forced evolution virus, which is this bioweapon created by a company that partners with Vault-Tec and puts some of their experiments into some vaults. And it basically makes it so you can manipulate anyone's DNA to become anything else. And that sounds pretty cool. FEV, Future Endeavor Ventures, shares an acronym. It wouldn't surprise me if this other corporation came into Vault-Tec under this false corporate name to get this like very, very morally questionable thing going. I mean, all of it's very morally questionable, but you know what I mean. And so that is like, okay, season 1 was very much this is an original story being told in the world of the Fallout games, but now we're starting to get these like potential Easter eggs and connections to stuff very clearly from the lore of the games that it's like, I want more. Open the book. Like, let's see what this really, really does mean. And I have a feeling, especially knowing these creators, that it isn't going to feel like it does right now, where it feels like these very disparate elements that are all very interesting. It's going to feel like, oh my gosh, like all of this stuff is connected, and this is why this person is doing this, and that's why the Brotherhood of Steel were doing that. And like that's what really excites me going forward.
Yeah, well, we have to assume that, or at least the way they're setting up is that like this mind control chip and this phase 2 must be connected somehow, because that's what Hank's working on. He's trying to get that to work. And he's obviously a Vault-Tec lackey as well. So I like that theory that it could be some kind of like evolutionary virus that they've been working on. That could be the phase 2. I wondered if the phase 2 was like, do they just want to install? They want to repopulate the Earth, but do they just want to do it like their way? Do they want every single person that they've kept in the vaults to be having these mind control chips, and then one of the executives looks after them? Or because this is Fallout and it's just like everyone's after it for themselves, is it going to be someone like Hank or House or whoever the top dog is just controlling everyone? Like, maybe they just want to put control chips in all of the overseers and then have this sort of like dictatorship. I'm not sure. Do you have any theories, Tom?
Not really. But those what Klein's talking about, like that FEV stuff sounds like really compelling.
I want to pose one more like interesting note to look for as we move forward. In episode 4 as well, we get Steph and Betty having that little bit of conversation. They talk about a lockbox. We'll talk about that a little more when we get into episode 4. But what does she say? She says, "Can I have some of your water?" And she goes, "No, we need the water for our work. We need the water for," that could be taken as we need the water for whatever this experiment that's happening, whatever Vault Tech has set up in Steph's vault. What better place to put a DNA altering virus slowly over time? You'd slowly poison these people, season these people with this virus and have it in them. And then what's everyone else trying to do? Phase 2 is activating that agent and creating these like mutant monsters.
Yeah, well, we could probably talk about that second storyline in the vault, because I feel like that's another disparate sort of like pops up every now and then in the episodes. But yeah, we do, even though Norm and Lucy, who are kind of our point of view characters in the vault, are out of it, we are still in vaults 31 and 32. So we've still got Betty, we've still got Zach Cherry's character, whose name I forget. Anyway, we've still got people there. We've got Steph, who was the pregnant lady from the previous season and who had the baby in a dramatic way. So yeah, they are like, Steph's an overseer, Betty's an overseer, and they're trying to sort of figure out what to do. Everybody in Vault 31 is gone, so they can't turn to them for help. And we knew that the water chip issue was a thing from the previous season. They'd kind of set up that they were going to run out of water. And now you just have this kind of interesting relationship between these two overseers who are kind of feeling each other out. Like, how much do you know? Like, are we on the same level here? And Betty, who's been awake for like 40 years, sort of has a different perspective to Steph now, who's an overseer. So we also in the same storyline have, I've forgotten his name. I should write down names. But that guy who's got the
Herb?
incest.
Is it Herb? No. No, Herb is her husband. Herb's Steph's husband.
Okay,
Yeah.
no, there's a guy who's got the incest support group.
Yeah.
And he's getting really popular
club.
because he gets water and snacks. Yeah. Personally, I find this the weakest storyline. I know that it's probably going to be important later, but I'm just sort of like, why is this side character getting so much attention for this support group? It's just so trivial compared to everything else going on in the show. So I think we do need like a bit of a point of view still into the vault if what Betty and Steph are talking about is going to be important. But the support group is funny, but I'm like, why is it getting so much airtime? But yeah, any thoughts on that kind of aspect of the vault?
Yeah, well, that's the thing for me is like, I think, yeah, there are some fun scenes and stuff, but it does feel like a lot of attention is put onto that, and it does feel like a lot of that screen time. I mean, we haven't seen the rest of the season. Maybe the support group comes back in a big way. I don't know, maybe something crazy. But like, I just, yeah, it does feel this point where it's like, I feel like Klein, like you mentioned, like you know, Lucy's dad hasn't got a lot of screen time these past 2 episodes. Like, it feels like we could have got more of him rather than this stuff. But yeah, like, it is definitely necessary to see like what's happening in the vault, but I wish it was like, yeah, more of like Herb's character or Zach Cherry's character. Like, I wish we were seeing a bit more of their perspective, rather than like the guy who keeps going the wrong direction because he doesn't he's confused, he's in the wrong vault, so he doesn't know which way to go, whether it's left or right, which is a funny bit, but it's also like a lot of attention put to that stuff, which is, you know,
I like when he walks into the guy's house and the guy was like, "Oh yeah, I walked into the ladies' men's room and no one was in there, but what if someone was?"
would have been bad. Yeah,
would have been bad. I'm really curious, specifically in the vault side of things, what they're doing with Steph and Betty. And there was in episode 4, we get that moment where Steph's husband is folding laundry and finds the secret Canadian ID, which is like interesting, and they put a lot of focus on that. And if you don't know, like in the Fallout universe, the US annex Canada. They win in they before, I think it is during the Great War, as a part of that, they defeat Canada, take it over. Canadian citizens are now considered US citizens. And over the years in the Fallout world, there have been kind of resistance movements, but none of them as large as like to garner a name like Brotherhood of Steel or Caesar's Legion or things like that. But I don't know, I think it'd be pretty cool, something that like the Fallout fans have seemingly wanted for a long time, is like make like a Canadian rebel movement faction in the Fallout world. what if Steph is like secretly a double agent? Like she said she's from Voltec. She obviously worked there beforehand, was this secretary like character who gets put into the super manager program. What if she is like on the deepest level of undercover and like everything that she's doing is to gain intel for whatever this like Canadian resistance movement is?
Yeah, it does seem like that's where it's headed for her character.
Because she's like, she wants this box that Hank had. What's in there?
Yeah.
Does she even know what's in there? She acts like she knows what's in there, but it's like maybe she just needs it to get intel.
Because there's a date on that ID card too. It's like I think in the 2040s or something. Is that the time? Is that the before time period? Is that when that?
Yeah. Because the Canada was annexed before the bombs even dropped.
Oh, okay, interesting. So yeah, it's like so she must have been involved in all of that stuff. So does she show up in the flashbacks at some point? Like, are we going to see that? Yeah, I think there's a lot with that reveal, especially because with the vault stuff, I was like, okay, where is this
It just
going?
seems like such a weird reveal to not have it pay off in any way.
Yeah, it's definitely, I think it's definitely come back. Yeah,
I think they have to do something because at this point, it's like that's why I think there's a bit of a mismatch between what Steph's doing and what Betty's doing. And perhaps Steph doesn't really know what the plan is and she's just kind of fumbling her way through. So yeah, I think that's an interesting connection that could lead to like much wider story opportunities. But I think for names, I don't know, her husband who finds the idea in that moment, he would also be shocked to be like, wait, what's this date? Like, is she not from the vault? Like that would have been a big revelation for him. So I'm interested to see how he gets involved in it as well, because he's sort of so far been just like shunted. He's just like shoved with the baby, and he's like, I'm not even the dad. Like your husband actually died. So that's kind of funny. Very Fallout. Let's move on to episode 2. So in episode 2, we start things off with a bit more of like another flashback. We see Shady Sands back in its heyday. We see little boy Maximus, and we find out, like, we knew that Shady Sands had blown up thanks to Hank's involvement, but we find out literally how, and it is because someone with this mind control chip just walks a nuclear bomb into the town, and then everyone blows up, and Maximus survives because his parents shove him in a fridge. So that was interesting. Like, it's another sort of bit of a piece of the puzzle that like might lead to some revelations later. Any thoughts on seeing Shady Sands and how it ended?
Yeah, well, I just thought it was like a really good opening. I think all of these episodes, like to the credit, have
they know
really
how to do a cold open.
Openings. Yeah, they're fantastic, and I thought like it, for me at least, like I was like instantly emotionally attached to like Max's family and how that all plays out. Like it's just like a really emotional moment. And yeah, it's interesting that like, because you say like the guy had the mind control thing at that point, so it makes me wonder like why, like what Hank's doing in the present day with the mind controls, trying to get it to work again almost, if he was able to get it to work back then. So there's I'm sure there's going to be a connection there too. But yes, it's an interesting quibble.
I like that we saw a little bit more of Maximus too. Like just getting, we're learning we're turning the page on each of these characters every single episode and learning just a little bit more about who they are in the present day and where they came from. And I think that's like creating this really nice kind of narrative spiderweb where everyone is kind of connected in this area, and they would be because it does take place in a relatively small area of the United States. And I think that that's really fun, and getting to see where he came from, and then obviously his story is such a big part of where the season is going.
Yeah, well, we didn't see any Brotherhood of Steel stuff in the opening, so most of that is saved for this episode. And basically where things are picking up there is that Maximus is still kind of a bit of a hero from the previous season, where they just walked in and he was the only one left. So he sort of was credited for finding cold fusion. And now the Brotherhood is trying to decide what to do with it. So Elder Quintus, he's the head of Maximus's chapter, the Brotherhood of Steel, and he sort of brought the Western chapters together to have a meeting, and they kind of want to like figure out whether with this element of cold fusion, whether they have enough power to potentially take over the Commonwealth, which the Commonwealth chapter of Brotherhood of Steel, which is a bit stronger. So I don't know. We can probably again talk about this arc over the first 4 episodes, just in general. So we've got in one corner this sort of brewing civil war between the Commonwealth. We have Xander Harkness show up, who's played by Kumail Nanjiani. He's a new character who's very cool. He's from the Commonwealth. And he's sort of here like, oh, I hear you've got brewing tensions going on. What's that about? And then at the same time, Maximus is a little bit disillusioned, which is kind of, I think, what you predicted, Tom, is that he sort of realized that the Brotherhood is just like a bunch of boys fighting it out in big armor and guns and things like that. Was it this season where they like set up an Area 51, or was that last season?
In episode 1, right at the end.
That was so funny. So they found like the Area 51 base, and these guys are just going around like, and they like are marveling over this like old tech that means nothing. Then they open a fridge with a frozen alien that just like smashes, and like, oh, whatever, like that. I thought that was very funny. But yeah, he's becoming a bit disillusioned, being like his work doesn't really mean anything. Like Quintus won't listen to him when he suggests anything because he's just a sword, and that leads to some tension. But what do we think of the Brotherhood of Steel storyline this season?
This is my favorite like storyline that we've gotten so far. I think that the Brotherhood of Steel stuff in season 1, I liked Maximus more than I liked the Brotherhood of Steel itself. But now that we're learning a little bit more, I love the dichotomy you get between the Maximus's chapter of Brotherhood and the other people showing up, where like he's talking about getting his armor to Kumail, and Kumail's like, what do you mean? Like, you only have one? And there's like this kind of scarcity of resources within Maximus's chapter, and it feels like they are really just trying to scrape by, whereas all these other chapters are here just swimming in weapons and like infrastructure, all sorts of, they have these big airships and things like that. I think that that's really cool. And then I was hoping we would get to like a civil war between these factions, and that's ultimately, I think, where we are going, because we get Maximus smashing Xander on the head in just brutal fashion, which is great. We get him trying to kill the Elder and then running off at the end of episode 4. I'm so excited to now see this quote unquote hero in Maximus, who has been put on this pedestal as the guy who brought cold fusion to the Brotherhood. Now things have really started to fall apart for him, and he's back out on the run, and like that's going to be really fun to see kind of what happens with as we move into episode 5, 6, and then 7 and 8.
For me, this is what how Klein felt about the Norm stuff initially is kind of how I felt with the Brotherhood of Steel stuff up until the moment where Xander gets his head caved in, basically. I think for me, some of the politics stuff kind of goes in one ear out the other for me. And also this is partially like colored by the fact that I was like right off of a flight, like as I was watching this episode, so I was quite tired. So I was kind of like, okay, with the Brotherhood of Steel, we got different chapters, whatever. So I was a little bit out of it. So that's probably, affecting it a little bit. But once we get that and it kind of, the momentum kind of gets going, I was all in. And I think it also shifts when Thaddeus comes into play, because I think Thaddeus' performance is one of my favorites from the whole show. He's just like so stupid. He's such a fun character, especially when you put him in Harkness's armor and he's having to like bumble his way through the brother,
the
like,
lunchroom.
Yeah, he's like chapter leaders come up to him and like are trying to bargain with him, and he's
I'm
like,
having a panic attack. What's that?
Yeah, just walk it off, whatever. It's so good. And yeah, like where that leads with Maximus like stealing the cold fusion again. I think that's just like a really interesting like setup for the rest of the season. So yeah, I think it was like a slow burn for me with the Brothers stuff, but it's definitely gone to a point now where I'm like, okay, I'm fully on board.
Yeah, I've liked its evolution as well. I'm really interested in this Civil War aspect. I'm really hoping that we get to see more of the Commonwealth, and like that whole storyline it has really got its hooks in me now. I thought it was so funny that they brought Kumail back for like one episode, only for him to go on a little like buddy trip with Maximus to blow some shit up. And then, yeah, they come across these kids who Thaddeus has been mentoring. Because if you don't remember, like last season, Thaddeus was with the Brotherhood of Steel, and then he left because he seemed like he was turning into a ghoul. And then he's found all these ghoul kids and he's sort of mentoring them. And then Xander came in wanting to shoot up the kids because they're ghouls. And Maximus, who has a bit of a moral compass, was like, no, they're just kids, and smashes him in the head. Very Fallout. That's the end of Xander. And so now they have to deal with like, oh, but he was the Commonwealth's envoy, like, so Thaddeus has to go and imposes him. It's very funny. It's a great setup. It's very Fallout. Yeah, and then they sort of leave as the chapters are at each other's throats, and they run out of there with Cold Fusion. So that's a really interesting setup. I think that puts them on an interesting trajectory for the rest of the season. And yeah, I was interested to see like the buddy dynamic between Maximus and Xander, but now I think it'll be more fun to see the dynamic between like Maximus and Thaddeus, because they're just two idiots. So that's very funny. What else have we got going on? So we have, after Lucingle, they're still on their road trip. They come across a few different things. They come across rad scorpions, which that was a pretty cool scene, like having these giant scary creatures come out. And Lucy has like sort of come across these people in tunics who are injured, and she wants to use her stim pack for them. And Ghoul's like, don't waste it on them, like use it on me. But she's still sticking to her morals, and she heals the tunic people instead, who take her back to their camp. And it turns out they're none other than Caesar's Legion, or Caesar's Legion, depending on which side you want to go. This is interesting because this is a faction from New Vegas that people are excited to see. This is where Macaulay Culkin's character comes in. He's one of Caesar's Legion's characters, one of their, I don't know what they call them, soldiers. And we learned that in the time since New Vegas, Caesar's Legion has had its own civil war, and they're just like fighting over who they think should be the new Caesar, because the previous Caesar died in the middle and then left apparently his successor as a name in the pocket, but nobody really wants to read the real name as the successor. So it's very funny. I find them a little bit like the Brotherhood of Steel, where they think they're super noble and upholding these values that were like from Roman times, when they're just a bunch of like guys living in the wasteland in America. Like, it's very funny. But what do you guys think of Caesar's Legion coming back?
They're just guys being dudes, They're just hanging about, which is, a bit of fun. Yeah, I like them. I just wish we got like a bit more of them. Like, I think all of their scenes are really fun, but they ultimately end up. It's most of this episode 3, is Lucy being basically strung up and not being able to do much, other than the kind of opening scene with them. So I hope we get a bit more of them in the season. Like, I think they're like a fun kind of faction to introduce into this. Yeah, I just want more, which is like a good problem to have, I guess. Like, it's always nice to be wanting more than to be like left being like, oh, this is too much. But yeah, I just want more of them.
I would like to shout out Macaulay Culkin, because like, guy was Kevin McAllister however long ago, and yes, Kieran Culkin has an Oscar now and has been on Succession and all of these things, but for a long time I wondered, could Macaulay come back and still have it? And he does. Like, he is so funny as this leader, or I don't even know if he's a leader, this envoy of Caesar's Legion, which is like such a fun Fallout faction. And I think some of the best stuff in Fallout is these unique groups of people and how they all interact and how they see this kind of post-nuclear world. And it's just, I don't know, it is so silly, but also really dark, because these people are obviously have all these slaves and are murdering people who they deem not theirs, but then they're also like feuding with a camp they literally share a fence with, that's directly next to them. And it's so much fun. I think Macaulay Culkin as an actor was born to play a Fallout character, and I'm just so happy that he got to do it as Caesar's Legion, as a Caesar's Legion person. I don't know.
Yeah.
Legionnaire?
Yeah.
A centurion?
Yeah, sure. Why not? I thought he was great as well. Like, him and Camille, like, both coming in. I am very much like, I mean, it could just be a 1-episode stint, but I'm like, they were marketed so heavily. So I can only hope that we're going to see Caesar's Legion again somehow. Like, so the end of the episode sees like basically Lucy is strung up in court, but the ghoul still needs her. Like, they're still on this. He needs her to get to her dad, and so he decides he's going to have to rescue her. So he goes to the New California Republic, who everybody's at war in Fallout. Everybody thinks they've won the war. Nobody can really agree on who's winning. And New California Republic, which is a camp of like 3 people at this point, is like, oh, we've lost contact with our chapter, but we're winning. And so Ghoul goes to them for help, basically gets what he needs from them and kind of screws them over, or so it seems. Infiltrates his way into Caesar's camp on the promise of, hey, I'm going to tell you where the last NCR camp is in exchange for, well, I don't think he said at the time in exchange for, but anyway, he uses that as a distraction to get Lucy out of the camp. And then turns out his real plan was to just blow it up. So that's what sets up the war between the two rival Caesar camps. It's very well done. And then we go back and we realize that he hadn't actually betrayed the New California Republic. I like this because, we see how Lucy sees the Ghoul. Like she doesn't think he's a very good person. She won't use her stim pack on him because he resorts to violence and using people to get what he wants. But really, he's still a good guy at heart. And we know that from the backstory, the flashbacks with Cooper Howard, that he was a good person. And so, yes, the wasteland has changed him, disfigured him, all of that. He's become hardened, but he's still a good guy at heart. So I liked that we got to see that in action here.
Yeah, definitely. Like episode 3 is episode 3, right? Episode 4 opens with the war flashback. Which sets up a lot of that stuff and fleshes out Cooper Howard and where he's coming from. But yes, it's cool to see a lot of that stuff is still in there under those horrible layers of melted skin. That he does have some affinity for people, or is capable of at least having affinity for people. So it's nice to see that kind of reciprocation there with Lucy in this episode.
Giving him layers, right? Just adding some layers to that onion that is that weird scarred skull that is Cooper Howard.
Yeah.
Exactly. So after Lucy and the Ghoul escape Caesar's Legion and they're reunited, we finally get to go to New Vegas. But on the way, we find out that Lucy, to be healed because she'd been strung up on the cross for days and was dehydrated and sick. And the New California Republic gave her some stuff to feel better. Turns out she's kind of addicted to that stuff now. And so she's addicted to drugs. And that kind of wipes out her I guess her moral line. And when they arrive in New Vegas, Ghoul's like, maybe we should go around to Freeside. This entrance doesn't look very good. And Lucy's like, you know what? I'm done with all the side quests and whatever. She basically is like, we're doing the main mission now. We're not doing any of the side stuff. And she goes in and she finds the Kings, who are these this group of Elvis impersonators. And they've all turned into ghouls in the time since New Vegas ended. And she just decides to start blowing some heads up, which is a big change of pace for Lucy. This was really fun, but what do you guys think of Lucy's drug addiction?
It's very Fallout. This can happen in the games. If you take too many of the meds, that is something that very much happens in Fallout 3, 4, and I guess New Vegas as well. And so it's fun to see that being put to screen. And it's fun just, again, getting a different side of Lucy, even if it is chemically induced. And you get some badass action. I think that the action in this specific scene looks better than anything else in the series. It just is so much fun seeing her swing that shotgun around and shoot the bullet and doing the VATS thing where the bullet flies out in slow motion and goes to the back of the head. It's violent and gory and set to awesome music and just so much fun. But you know what? Hopefully Lucy can Lucy. I thought I said Emma. Hopefully she can get over it. But right now, I'm along for the ride.
Yeah, this was great. I think it's going to be interesting to see whether if she recovers from this addiction or if she just goes further down the rabbit hole. Whether whether she changes and she's just okay, I'm cool with killing people now, or she is going to have that moment where it's oh, I just slaughtered those people and I didn't even bat an eye. But yeah, Ella Pennell's performance in this episode specifically is just so much fun. When she's asking him the Ghoul for a cigarette, and it's he's oh, one addiction at a time, sort of thing. Just so much fun. I just loved seeing all of this stuff. It's such a fun shift in that dynamic even further. So yeah, good stuff.
Yeah, I think they needed to do something with her because the do-gooder attitude could only go so far. And I think it's a really fun way to make her sort of have a bit of a more realist attitude of being whoa, these are things I'm capable of. These are things that are realities. So that was really interesting. And the last thing I guess we should touch on is like some of those flashbacks. So we do get to see Cooper Howard in the power armor in the opening of episode 4. He's in the war in Alaska, and he comes across Deathclaw, which is another big thing that fans have been waiting to see. It was teased in the trailers. We never quite got to see the design. And yeah, he comes across this super, I don't know how you describe them. They're like big lizard dragon things, like bipedal lizard dragon things that are just rips apart his comrade and not his comrade, the people who shot him down. I guess they're kids from the, I don't know which faction they're from in the past. Whoever they were fighting in Alaska.
I think it's the Chinese
Anyway.
army.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because I think that's what the Great War is over. Because I think China invades Canada, I'm pretty sure.
Yes, I think that's correct. Now, the Sino-American War. Yeah, okay. Yeah, so we see a Deathclaw. It's very terrifying. And then also this sort of bookends the episode because Lucy and Ghoul enter New Vegas, and it's to find a Deathclaw, which is kind of the big cliffhanger of the episode. So we know that we're seeing more Deathclaws in the future. But what do we think of the debut of the Deathclaw? I know that they did this practically as much as they could. It's an actual puppet as opposed to being CGI where they can. So that's pretty cool. I thought the design was pretty cool.
I think he looks great. He looks terrifying.
Yeah, a lot of those close-ups, especially, like you can tell, like there's like a practical kind of nature to it. Like that, I feel adds a lot. Like it feels.
That surprises me in the fluidity of his movement that he could be like. I just immediately looking at it was like, oh, that's just really well done VFX. But I guess some of it at least is puppetry, which I want to see the puppet. I want to see how much of it is really him.
Yeah, it'll be cool.
Yeah, I know because I saw like there was like a behind the scenes thing, and I think Ella Pennell said like on talk shows like it was really there. And there's like this picture of she's taking a selfie with the Deathclaw. I'm like, oh wow, that was really there. Very cool.
Sick. Yeah, it's gonna be like because we only see a glimpse of him at the beginning, and then like obviously Cooper's got the power armor at that point, so and he can't move, so he doesn't really do anything against it. But like he's got the power armor there. You flash forward to the end of this episode, like it's just the Ghoul and Lucy. They haven't got any like they've got some guns, but like how are they gonna take this down? So it's gonna be like it's gonna be a lot of fun to see like how that works. Is someone gonna come in like and save the day? Like is Hank gonna come out in his power armor and do something? I don't know, but yeah, I think it's cool to see more of these like big mutated monsters and like how that's gonna shake up everything.
Yeah, I think there's a bit of a theme going on, and you could see it in season 1, but it's definitely present more in this season. We've got rad scorpions, we've got Deathclaws. Like the mutant creatures are a lot more present in this season, and I feel like that might be important somehow, particularly if like your theory, Klein, if it's like the evolutionary virus, like or like mutants in general, like how did they? I mean, radiation, of course, has its effects on things, but were some of these things created intentionally? Because it was kind of strange that the Deathclaw was there back in the flashbacks, like before the bombs dropped. So
there is a theory, and it's never really been proven or disproven, that the FEV virus is directly responsible for the Deathclaw, specifically the Deathclaw.
Oh.
It feels like that might be where they're going then. So that could be cool that they're tying all these disparate things together. But I think that's pretty much everything in these first 4 episodes. I think we've covered all the major storylines. There are some more things with Robert House, like Cooper Howard meeting him in the past, and I think his task in the past is to kill him, or is it just to be friends with him and get intel?
That is morally gray. I don't know.
Okay. Yeah, I'm not sure.
Maybe both.
Could be both. Yeah.
Yeah. Because he seems very averse to doing whatever his task is. So, yeah, it's interesting. But they have a really great dynamic. It's really cool seeing Juan Goggins and Justin Theroux on screen together. Like, they're very, like, top of their game in their scenes together. So that's quite cool. And I guess you also alluded to it before, Klein, but, like, Betty and Steph back in the vault, when they're meeting and we've discovered Steph's Canadian ID, but there's also, you're right, she, like, requests a box that Betty has in her vault in exchange for like some kind of agreement between them. Any theories about what's in the box?
a vial of a certain virus, maybe. I don't know.
Could be.
I'm just leaning all into this
Ye-
FEV. If it's not Gwyneth Paltrow's head,
Yeah.
it's the virus.
Yeah, I don't know. I've not really got any ideas. I mean, maybe they have a lot of this like mind control stuff. Maybe it's like there's a mind control
Yeah.
device
That's
in the
a
vault.
pretty good bet.
Yeah.
Because Hank was using them, so like maybe he had a stash of them, and like that's the box is
And is that
stash,
phase 2 moving towards like utilizing those?
Yeah, might be.
I don't know. At this point, it feels like there are so many things that, like, it's obviously we're halfway through the season, but things are building up to a point where it's like, I know we're going to have, like we did last season, where suddenly everything connects, and we are heading to that point, which is good. So I think let's just get overall feeling like spoiler-filled thoughts now. Like, how are you feeling after the first 4 episodes of Fallout, and what do you hope comes from the next 4?
I'm feeling good, but I am feeling like I need a powder keg next episode, or like in the next 2. I really need, I feel like the fuse has been lit. I need to see some explosions now, and the table has been set. We know all the players that are on the board. Let's really start connecting these things. Is it a matter of, are we going to see the Brotherhood Civil War happen while we kind of bring up maybe this like former corporate civil war between the company, the Roboco, that was making these mind control devices, and this other company that maybe made this virus that we think could be in the series? And maybe these 2 companies were trying to create their own ways to have mindless super soldiers sort of deal. Or are we going to learn what Hank is actually doing? Are we going to learn more about Howard's and Mr. House's relationship? I just need something specifically in episode 5 that is a major like, whoa, okay, like now we're going towards this finale. And so right now I am happy with where we are. It's only 4 episodes in, we're halfway through, but I'm really itching to get like some big like, oh my gosh, mind-blowing moments.
Yeah, I think I mentioned at the start of the episode I felt like a bit mixed about the season, but I think after talking to you guys, I actually feel like I've become a bit more positive on it. Like that, it's made me realize like, oh yeah, there were a lot of stuff that I did really like about this season so far. So I'm excited to see what they have coming up. But similar to Klein, I'm like, I think there needs to be like a really big thing or a couple big things in the next episode, and also like as also talking through this, there is a lot of stuff on the table now, like a lot of disparate things that I'm not sure how are going to get tied together, especially because there are only 4 episodes. I'm sure there's going to be a way, because like I feel like they did it in season 1, so I'm confident that they'll be able to do the same thing here. I'm just really curious to see how they do it. So yeah, I'm optimistic for the rest of the season at the very least.
Yeah, I think if this is what they're able to do in the first 4, then they can very easily achieve what they need to in the back 4. But I think maybe potentially if there were any issues, it just feels like it's only in episode 4 that we kind of get to New Vegas, and we're not even in. We're just sort of in the outskirts, and I think that's okay. Like when you look at the arc of the season, the next 4 episodes are probably going to be right in Vegas, and we'll get all of the things from the game that we want to see, and then see how the different factions turned out. We did see Caesar's Legion, and we saw the Kings, and we've seen some things, but I think probably in the next few, it's like, okay, we're in the casinos. We see what happens with House. We know that there are still some, like from the trailers, that there are still some flashbacks for Cooper Howard visiting New Vegas, so it's going to be great to see that. But yeah, I think things are on like moving quickly now. Like we're on really good momentum, and I feel like at the end of episode 4, like all the storylines are in like a really interesting place. I don't think there's any that I'm like not interested in anymore, like where I was maybe in the beginning of the season, or I'm like, I'm not really paying as much attention in this storyline. But now I feel like, I want to see what's happening with everybody now. So that leaves us in a good place for the next few. Any final things to add?
Nothing.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right. We're leaving the wasteland until 2 weeks, where we'll do episode 5 and 6. And then 2 weeks after that, we'll do episode 7 and 8. But thanks everybody for joining us.
Great stuff. Yeah, as you mentioned, we'll be back 2 weeks from now with the next 2 episodes to follow. But in the meantime, next week we'll do a regularly scheduled controller club about the gaming industry. That we just thought this would be a good way of kind of splitting up the Fallout show with all the news of the new year and our new year kind of traditions here on the podcast. And well, speaking of traditions, each and every week here we traditionally talk about the games we've been playing. So let's do that very quickly here. Have we been playing anything over the last week or so, Tom? You have written down your Street Fighter 6 on Switch 2, which I'm interested to hear how that actually is playing on this little handheld device.
Yeah, so I didn't mention last week, I forgot to mention it, that I got 2 games for Christmas. I got Metaphor ReFantasio, one of your favorite games of 2023, as when it came out.
24.
24? Okay, so is that recent? Yeah, Klein, you really like that game, so I'm excited to finally get Metaphor, and hopefully I'll try play it at some point. It's super long, so like I don't know when I'm going to find the time, but at some point I will play it. But the other game was Street Fighter 6 on Switch 2, which I was just really curious to see how it runs and how it compares to the PS5 version of it, because I put a lot of time into the PS5 version. It definitely took a little bit of getting used to. I do find sometimes just like, I don't know whether it's a controller or if it's maybe just a me thing, but I find like transferring like how I play on PlayStation with fighting games versus like on Switch, and especially like handheld, it definitely takes a little bit of getting used to. But once I did a bit of like training and some practice matches, it feels really good. And like I think the kind of fidelity and the visuals on Switch 2 are very impressive. You can definitely see some of the kind of I guess like if you look for the seams, you'll find them. But like if I think like as a whole, it's pretty comparable, and I think they've done a really impressive job in terms of translating this game over to Switch 2. It does feel like when I'm in the kind of rhythm of it, I was just like, oh yeah, this is kind of insane that I'm just playing Street Fighter 6, and it plays and runs so well as it does. The only thing is that like at the moment, because I'm in Dubai at the time of recording, like the internet's not the best, so like some of the online matches have been a bit patchy, and that is partially also like it's like the matchmaking has put me like with people from China and Japan, so which is like very far away. So the ping is like it's like very high at the moment. So some of the matches are pretty stuttery, but I think with like stable internet, it'll go a lot better. But I'm rising through the ranks. Like it's definitely like a lot of fun still. So it's definitely something I'm just gonna like pick up every now and then, and go into a couple of matches. And yeah, I would honestly recommend it. It's really fun.
It's amazing that the Switch 2 can have ports like that and ports like Cyberpunk even that are so impressive. And then there are a handful of other ones like the upcoming Elden Ring port, which obviously we haven't played the final product of, that are like, how is like this is barely being held together on this console. It's just funny how some companies seem to be able to optimize for the Switch 2 and others don't. But I'm glad you have another avenue to school folks in Street Fighter 6. Lauren, have you been playing anything over the last week?
I'll shout out a couple of things that I forgot to mention, like just that I've been playing over like the Christmas break and stuff. One is a game that we all played together at PAX, but every Christmas my family and I play Jackbox because we love being able to join on our phones. And we got the new pack, and definitely the standout has been that hearsay game, which is where you record the sounds. This is the funniest thing they've ever invented. Like, it's the best. I wish you could just buy it in isolation, because it would just be really fun to like, because I'm not sure, we didn't play all the other ones in the pack, but that is definitely the standout. So you basically have to record sounds in response to silly prompts. But while you're doing it, like, I guess when we saw it at PAX, like they had guests doing it and we were just in the audience. But when you're doing it at home, it's like everybody can hear each other recording each other's sounds. So you just start laughing and you have to try and like keep it together to record your sound. It's very, very funny. That's definitely a standout for one of the latest Jackbox games.
Awesome.
And yeah, it's really good. So we might have to play that next time we're all together. But another game we should all play together, which has come out of nowhere for me, but I just sort of, a friend introduced me to it before Christmas, is called Boomerang Foo, which is, I don't know if you guys have heard of it. I've got it on the Switch, but it's like a fighting game where you play as these like cute little animated guys. Like you can be a watermelon or a milk cart or something like that, and you have a boomerang and you start to go around slicing each other up in these different little levels, and it's like a one-hit kill scenario. So you have to like be tactical. You can like throw your boomerang, but then if it doesn't hit anyone, you have to go get it. You can let people get close and chop them up, and it's really really fun. It's chaotic and it can be quite difficult, but you can play against bots as a team. You can add bots and in each of your teams and like versus each other. You can be a free for all. There's even like a hide and seek mode where there's a power up in the game where you can like turn into like something else in the environment, and that's really useful in the battle scenarios because you can like hide and wait for someone to come past. But there's a hide and seek mode where everybody has to. There's one person who's seeking, and everyone else gets to be in a disguise, and you have to find a spot. And then after the time is up, the seeker goes around and has only like 10 chances to chop something up, which you might be one of. It's very, very fun. So that's been my obsession over the last 2 weeks, and we'll definitely be playing that the next time we're all together.
It looks adorable. It looks like Gang Beasts, if you've ever played that. Just kind of like that
Sure.
ragdolly top-down fighting game. That looks like and sounds like a lot of fun.
Yeah, we'll definitely have to give that a try. I think that reminds me, that mode you just mentioned, like prop hunt, like you playing like,
Yes,
I guess a lot of Call of Duty. It's like that, so that sounds like a lot of fun. We'll
exactly.
try it. Yeah.
The only thing I've been playing is I talked about it last week. I'm continuing my Silksong journey. I am happy to say that I have officially gotten past where I was in the demo at PAX. So I beat the Silk for the first time, which I couldn't beat at PAX, and the little girl beside me just like schooled. Like it was insane. It was like watching Leonardo da Vinci paint. It was amazing. I beat Silk, did that. That was cool. And then I reached the first two bosses that really, really, really got me, where I was stuck for like at least an hour on each. The first was what's her name? Something sister, Spike sister or something, or she is like a cactus that is shooting these like big spiny branches. And
oh yes,
yeah, she was very difficult, but I did it. And then I took on a Widow. And let me tell you what, Widow is rough because Widow is so easy for the first phase, and you do the first phase and it takes about as long as a regular boss, and you're like, I did it. You even get the I didn't mention it when I was talking about this game the first time last week, but the simple addition of when you're at the end of a room or end of a boss in this game, and everything, it does that Smash Bros thing when you get the final hit and it goes into slow motion and you know you've done it. It didn't do that in the first Hollow Knight, I don't think. It feels so good. It even gives you that in the middle of the Widow fight, and you're like, I did it. And then she stands back up and all of a sudden can hit twice as fast, does all sorts of terrible moves that just murder you. I finally beat her yesterday. I actually have been finding with this game, I will try something for like an hour or more. I'll put it down, I'll come back, and the first time the next day I'll be able to do it. But it's just like that hour of frustration of me just trying over and over and over again that really, really grinds my gears. She was so difficult, but I did it. I saved Bellhaven, I think it's called. I love this game. I love it so much. It's so good.
Yeah, Widow's one of my favorite like boss fights. She's very like annoying, but like I just love her design. I think her attacks are kind of annoying, but like really fun. Is she the one where like, if I'm not mistaken, where she's like, she runs about and she goes like blah 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 blah, like when she's running about like across the like stage.
She turns into like this little like weird creepy crawly version of her, or even more creepy crawly, and she runs along the ground and makes a sound, and it creates these like big bell explosions that you have to like jump over. You also, the whole map is opened up to me right now because I unlocked the like wall stick ability like Spider-Man, and that's when a Metroidvania, when you can really, really start like exploring, because it's like, hey, that wall before, I could see a door up there, but I couldn't get up there. Now I can go in. So I'm not even moving forward or progressing. I'm just going to every corner of the map that I can see that has like an unopened door, and just trying to see if now with this new ability I can get up there. I didn't think I would be as immersed in this game as I am. Like, I am just so wrapped up in it and willing to go and do all of these like little, not even side things that they're telling me to do, just stuff that I want to do. Whereas when I started the game, like, oh no, I gotta like, there's so many things coming in 2026, and I need to say that I've played enough Silksong. But now I'm like, no, like let's hang out. Like me and Hornet are just having such a good time. I got that umbrella ability so I can float around. I can cling to the walls. I am kind of, I don't know. I'm really puzzled at what other abilities they can give me now, because I feel like I've gotten, I guess like a double jump would make sense. But other than that, I'm like, I feel like I've gotten most of the traversal kind of stuff that I had by the end of Hollow Knight 1. And I'm like 5 or 6 hours into the game. So that's really cool. It's good.
Well, this is the thing that like there's some more. I'm not going to spoil any of them, but like there's some more as you go in the game, and they're like when you get them, it's like I can't believe I never had this like throughout the whole entire rest of the game. So it's so cool. Like they keep adding them, and it just completely shifts like everything. So yeah, I'm really glad you're enjoying it. Like it's just it's such a good game.
And there's so many secrets. Every single wall I come up to, I just start swinging at it because there's so many false walls. Like Hollow Knight had a few, and that's not a new Metroidvania thing by any means, but there's so many of them, and some of them open up to these like completely like new areas or tunnels that connect to a complete other area on the map. It's like, this is, I don't even know how you level design this whole map, because it is so just like, it feels so perfectly connected and intertwined, but also so sprawling. It's fantastic game. Let's get into the comment corner and we'll get out of here. Tom, do we have any comments for our comment corner this week?
We actually don't. So comment corner is closed this week.
That's fine.
Yeah,
it is what it is. This week's comment corner question of the week is: how have you found the first few episodes of Fallout Season 2? You can let us know over on social media. We are at Controller Club Pod on Instagram and Blue Sky, at Controller_Club on Twitter, and at Controller.club on TikTok. Also, if you're listening to the podcast, we post a video version each and every week over on our YouTube channel. So head over there, subscribe, ring the bell, leave us a comment, and rate and review us wherever you're listening right now. 5 stars. It helps out a ton. Tom, where can people keep up with you, and what do you have going on in your life?
You can find me at Tom Drouart, Instagram, Blue Sky, everywhere on the internet, basically. Yeah, not much to promote this week. I'm sure I'm going to have more. There's drawings in the works. They're just not ready yet. So if you want to see some of that, tune in. Tom Drouart. It'll be ready when it's ready.
And Lauren, what about you?
You can follow me at lrouse19 on the socials. I'm still in Australia, so I'm not really posting about much work or anything yet, but back to that soon.
And I am at the Kleinfeld everywhere. That's TheKleinFelt. That's going to wrap up this episode of Controller Club. Thank you so much for listening and watching. Now, let's get gaming.